Hey guys, so this is a random unscripted video that I'm making for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. The game comes out in 2 weeks, and with the beta almost over, I just wanted to throw together some of my thoughts, and I made a list on things both positive and negative. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. This game is not worth $90 for the digital deluxe edition, and it sure as hell is not worth $70 either. I'm gonna go over my points as to why later on in the video. I do think this game would be a fun pickup if you got it for like $30 or less, and while I do enjoy some aspects of this game, there's a lot of them that just make, again, that $70 price tag extremely questionable. To get this started, I think the offline Grand Prix mode isn't too bad. I've got a few gripes with it though, like being reset to spot 12 after every single race. It's dumb, don't understand why it's designed like that. Games like Mario Kart retain your placings from one race to another, which gives them actual purpose outside of, placing points. I don't see why Crossworlds can't do the same. And I also think the rival race mechanic, it's cute, but for someone like me, it's pretty boring. All it does is guarantee which character will always be behind you in second place and target you with the most items, which, if you're 12 years old, I'm sure you'll love this mode and you'll find it extremely fun and cool, but again, for someone like me, it's just unappealing. I would rather just get straight into the races without having to watch all the little mini cutscenes and stuff like that. There's also unique interactions between the characters before the race, like I just said. It's fluff dialogue though. If you're a Sonic fan, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and I'm going to get a little bit deeper into that dialogue specifically later in the video, but Team Sonic Racing already did this idea in the middle of the races, so again, I'm not really impressed by this. I can't really laugh at these, and again, I think the writing for some of these interactions are just extremely bad, so again, it's not appealing to me. I do think the general sense of speed in the game for what the beta is offering right now, it's only offering 3 speeds when there's 5 in the final. I think it's pretty good. Nearly every stage had a decent enough flow to them, but at the same time, a lot of them just don't really pop out to me besides like 1 or 2 sections that are made specifically for it, like Mystic Jungle having, the long tubes from Sonic Forces, and others. There's others. Again, it's just, it's so boring in that aspect. Again, a game like Mario Kart will just have fully unique stages, and it will have really unique parts to them, which, for better or for worse, because there are some extremely bad Mario Kart tracks, but there's also some extremely good Mario Kart tracks. Can't really say that for Crossworlds because they all kind of follow the same design philosophy of having the same sort of beginning, the same sort of middle, maybe one unique thing around the end of the stage, but then the actual end of the race, you have the little boost pad section to the finish line, which again, it's just not fun to me. It's not unique to me, and I feel like it's a problem with the Crossworld mechanic because they have to gut certain parts of the race to implement that mechanic in. So, and speaking of the Crossworld segments, they're fine. The stages themselves are fine. And I guess that also ties into the boats and the planes. The planes are fine. I don't remember if, or well, I say remember, but I don't know if they control better than All-Stars Racing Transformed. I haven't played that game in a while. I don't feel like booting it up right now just to see if it plays better, but they feel fine enough. The boats, on the other hand, not a big fan of them at all. I don't think their flow is worth keeping in the full game. I mean, obviously it's too late to gut them now or to do any drastic changes to them, but both sections are just way too short, nothing really happens in them, and the jumping mechanic is just boring. So, they're not really great. I like the plane segments, they're fun and all, but the boat ones just aren't entertaining in the slightest. And then in general, just talking about how the cars feel better. The last beta, which was in like April or May, don't really remember, the cars controlled pretty poorly in that. They felt extremely slippery, way too loose. They feel better this time, and you can finally play with the Extreme Gear, which I thought the Extreme Gear was fun as well. They're kind of like the bikes in Mario Kart, where you can turn and, it's a sharper turn or whatever. I know some people were expecting them to play a little bit more like Sonic Riders, but I'm kind of glad it doesn't, because you'd be alienating a lot of people to have this specific type of vehicle in the game play nearly the exact same way as it did in a game that came out almost 20 years ago. You know, if you want to play the Extreme Gear, go play Sonic Riders. It's still a phenomenal game, but I think it's fine the way it is here. The items. We'll split this into offline and online. I think in offline modes with the CPU players, the items are fine. They're well balanced. The CPUs use the items, you know, fine and fair and well. But online, it's still bad. It was really bad in the last beta, the way that the items were balanced, and it's still extremely bad here. This game has a really big fundamental issue with how it's designed versus how you're actually playing it. There are way too many offensive items still. There's not enough defensive items. There's not a lot that you could do defensively anyways within the actual race to counter these items. It's just not, it's not good. The way that the game works at its very core is that you need to grab rings that are on the track to go faster, like how you collect coins in Mario Kart. But instead of Mario Kart, where you collect 10 coins to go faster, you need to collect 100 rings in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, which is fine. I don't have a problem with collecting 100 rings. However, you lose rings for doing pretty much anything on the track. If you get hit with an item, you lose rings. If you bump into another racer, you lose rings. If you bump into a wall, you lose rings. I'm not saying this game cannot be punishing to its players. I'm not saying that this game can't skill check you. However, I feel like if you're going to skill check these players at least, you absolutely need to design your tracks in a way that they can actually work with all of that. For example, a game like F-Zero has these narrow corners and stuff on the track because the game is supposed to be high speed. You're not supposed to bump into other players and stuff. You're not supposed to bump into walls. And the way that the tracks are designed in that game perfectly fits that style. It's not like that for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. If you hit walls while trying to do crazier turns, you will lose rings. If you bump into other players, which this game doesn't warn you if another player is by you, but if they bump into you, you will lose rings. If you get hit by items, you will lose rings. And again, this ties back into my problem with items and how they're designed, because you think there would be more defensive items to protect yourself against, you know, all of these ways to lose rings, but there isn't. There's probably like 3, maybe 2 items that are purely defensive, and they don't last very long at all. Again, I think losing rings in this game for doing pretty much anything, for being hit by pretty much anything, including the wall, you know, including a character just brushing up against you, is completely awful, and it doesn't make this game fun in the slightest. Again, in single player, it's fine, but online, it's awful. I don't know if they tested multiplayer lobbies while they were playtesting this game. It doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like it in the slightest. You know, because what's the point in grabbing rings when if you touch anything, you will lose rings? What's the point in having defensive items if you get hit with an item? That's another thing too. If you get hit with an item, you lose your item, which I don't get why that's a thing either. Again, when you're talking about this game and you're playing this game, there are so many core mechanics in it that collide and clash with one another, and it just feels like, did they really think this out? Because it's not designed well. It's just not. And some of the items too give you these really weird effects that I think just shouldn't be in a racing game, like the anvil, and how that makes you go in a straight line no matter where you're facing. I feel like that's just dumb. You know, if you're going to be doing what is the equivalent of the blue shell in this game, just make it stop your racer in place. You know, like an actual anvil will. Why am I still going forward in it for like 4 seconds? And there's also the Nickelodeon slime, which wants you to spin your stick around. Again, it's like the equivalent of the blooper in Mario Kart, which I don't get why I should be spinning the stick around if I'm still driving. Just make it cover up my screen and then go away after like 8 seconds. It's weird. And speaking of Nickelodeon, I guess I can get into the roster for this game, as well as the DLC characters. I'm not impressed. I think the main roster of Sonic characters, while it's better than Team Sonic Racing, isn't something to write home about. We don't have characters that I think should be in this game. Mephiles is not in this game. Shara is not in this game. Merlina is not in this game. King Arthur is not in this game. Tikal is not in this game. Gamma is not in this game. Etc, etc. We don't have Chip. We don't have Emerald. And it's weird because nearly all the characters that I just listed have just gotten official pieces of artwork within the last year or two, or have been in games within the last year or two. So, you know, and they're also getting toys. We're getting toys in them too. So, I don't really get why we aren't getting these characters in the game. I feel like for a game called Sonic Racing Crossworlds, it should have a big, expansive roster with pretty much anybody in it. But again, that's just the Sonic side. I'm not impressed by them at all. Talking about the Sega characters, it's also extremely bad. We have 3 Sega DLC characters announced so far. They're free DLC characters, that being Hatsune Miku, Ichiban, and Joker Persona 5. I mean, they're cool picks, but again, I'm just not impressed by them. And I think it's absolutely awful that we have to wait for these characters to come out as free DLC instead of them just being a part of the base roster. In Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, Sega characters were base roster inclusion, but they're not in this game. And again, I feel like if it's titled Sonic Racing Crossworlds, why aren't these characters base DLC? We don't have Beat. We don't have II for some fucking reason. We don't have Billy Hatcher. We don't have Joe Musashi. We don't have the Bonanza Brothers. We don't have Knights, which is honestly kind of crazy that we're probably going to go a 3rd Sonic Racing game without Knights being in it as Knights, but whatever. I know some people are going to say, just wait for the free DLC. I shouldn't have to wait for free DLC for a fucking racing game to include a character that I want to play as, to include characters that were in the previous racing games. Especially when these characters just got games a couple of years ago, or are getting games soon with the upcoming Sega reboot little project that they're doing right now. Like how Shinobi's getting a new game, Jet Set Radio's getting a reboot, whatever. You know, Alex Kidd got a game like 2 years ago. We just got 2 Monkey Ball games a couple years ago. Again, I shouldn't be waiting for this. They should just be in the base game. It's a racing game. Sega Cast, Sonic Cast, incredibly disappointing, especially the fact that these characters don't have voices either, which is an entirely different conversation. The fact that none of these characters have voice lines is stupid. You don't have to have voice actors for every single language that they speak. They can just only speak their native language in whatever origin their game came out. So, for example, Joker would just have his Japanese voice actor. Ichiban would just have his Japanese voice actor. Hatsune Miku isn't voiced by a real person, so of course her little voice bank has a few dialogue options, but again, if they can just do that for Hatsune Miku, why can't they just reuse lines from the other characters that are going to be in this game? It's dumb. Talking about the paid collab DLC characters though, SpongeBob, Minecraft Steve, Minecraft Alex, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Pac-Man. Again, I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. SpongeBob, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Avatar: The Last Airbender all have movies coming out, like, within the next year or two. And Paramount, of course, makes the Sonic movies, so it's just advertising and these companies smashing their little toys together so they can advertise, you know, there's a new SpongeBob movie coming out, there's a new Avatar movie coming out, there's a new Ninja Turtle movie coming out. Make sure you watch those movies in theaters and then buy Sonic Racing Crossworlds and buy the DLC packs for them. They don't have voice lines either, which is, again, incredibly stupid for something that I am paying money for. The Bikini Bottom track, from what we've seen, looks extremely bad. It's just bad. It looks extremely bad. And I'm going to get into the visuals in just a bit, but I'm hoping the rest of the levels that these characters come with don't look bad. The Pac-Man stuff is cool. Not much to say about that. Cool, Pac-Man's in the game. Awesome. I already talked about track design a little bit, but let's talk about the track visuals. Very boring. This game has a weird habit of pretty much every single stage being caked in bloom effects, being caked with light reflecting effects, which again, if you're 12 years old, I can see how this looks extremely, impressive to you, but there's no general art style for this game. It's just a bunch of really bland assets being shoved together, and I'm just going to repeat myself here. If you're 12 years old, I can see how this is impressive to you, but for someone like me, I can see right through it. It doesn't look good. There are stages that look decent, there are stages that just absolutely look awful. Most of them all feel very dull and groggy. Kronos Island specifically looks absolutely horrendous. I don't know how they're releasing the game. Sorry, I don't know how they're releasing that stage in the game with it looking like that. It looks absolutely awful. The Bikini Bottom stage is the exact same too from the trailers that we've seen of it. It's just extremely murky and awful looking, and it kind of makes me feel a bit sick because Bikini Bottom has never looked like this. Even in other SpongeBob games from like the early 2000s, it has never looked this dull and boring, but it is here. So congratulations to Sega for making a Bikini Bottom that looks worse than Battle for Bikini Bottom, which came out in like 2002. That's all I have to say about that. And then I think my final thing is the voice acting. This is a very touchy topic, but the voice acting in this game is not good, at least on the English side. I think there is more than just English and Japanese this time. I'm not sure if that's just text or if it's actual voice acting, but the English side is just not good. This cast is a serious mismatch for Sonic the Hedgehog. It's not great. I know some people like to blame voice direction, and people like to blame writers. It's all three of them. All three of them equally are not good. Ian Flynn's writing in this game is actually just horrendous. From the rival racer stuff that we've seen, the voice direction is not good. All these characters sound lifeless and dull. And the voice actors themselves, while I know they're not bad voice actors, they've done great work in other projects, they just do not fit this series anymore, okay? You can't get Denzel Washington to play Mickey Mouse and have it sound good. It's a mismatch. It does not sound right. It sounds awful. I love Roger Craig Smith and many of his other works. And I like him as Sonic. I grew up with Roger Craig Smith as my Sonic because I played all of his games when I was a kid. I played Sonic Lost World, I played Sonic Forces, I played Sonic Colors to death when I was a kid, but again, he just does not fit this character anymore, and the direction that they're going with Sonic as a franchise, he doesn't really fit the character anymore. Ian Flynn's writing is also just extremely bad, and this is an extremely Sonic fan-base thing, but nearly every single bit of dialogue in this game is just references to old Sonic games, which, if you're 12 years old, or you don't know anything about Sonic, I'm sure it comes off as normal dialogue, but this dialogue is specifically for us, for fans, for people who have been playing this game, or sorry, people who have been playing this franchise forever and ever now. And seeing stuff like all of Eggman's voice lines being references to Sonic Adventure 1 or Sonic Adventure 2 with "Get a load of this," or "I am Dr. Eggman, the greatest scientific genius in the world." It's not funny anymore. It's not cute anymore. It's your 20-year-old dog doing the same tricks and shitting on the carpet. Maybe it's a little funny that he shit on the carpet when he was a little puppy, but it's not funny anymore. It's stupid. It's just very stupid. There's a line from Silver, and he says something like, "I've dreamt of this absolution," which it just shows you how bad of a writer Ian Flynn is when it comes to Sonic. He cannot help himself from just shoving in all of these song references to the point where it's borderline parody. I have seen parodies of this guy's writing that have made that joke before, and it's not funny. It's just bad. I'm sure if you're a fan of any other thing and you're like a really passionate fan, there's probably one or two jokes that everybody makes that you're absolutely sick of hearing. Imagine that, but it's actually in the official games. and it's here all the time. It's bad. It is so bad. Other than that, though, I don't really have much to say. If I had to give this game a rating based off the beta, I would give it like a 6. 6 out of 10. It's fine. There's a lot of things that drag it down for me that, again, I don't think this is worth $70 at all. There's way too many cost-cutting measures to make this game, you know, a bit faster to develop, but at the same time, it looks cheap. Some of the mechanics just don't feel right. Some of the design of this game do not feel right. It's just cheap. Again, if it was $30, it would be fine, but $70 is just way too much. I'm surprised that this is the first Sonic game Sega is actually releasing for $70, and they're very bold for releasing a $90 digital deluxe version of this game, which comes with nothing that is worth the extra $20, but power to the people who want it. If you enjoy this game, you enjoy this game. I just think it's okay. Again, I don't see myself buying this game for $70 at all. I'll just wait for Black Friday sales or, you know, for it to go on clearance at like Walmart or Best Buy or something. But again, I like a lot of aspects of this game. It's just that there is so much wrong with it that I can't justify spending $70 on it. Maybe if they release a couple of updates that really do change the way the game feels, I'll pick it up. But again, as of right now, solid like 6 out of 10, leaning more towards a 5 than a 7. Other than that, that's all I have to say for now.